Hey guys, I'm gonna go over CFA number 4 on School City. So that way, hopefully you can retake it because it's reopened. So retake or maybe take for the first time in case you were one of those kids that didn't. So that way you can get your grade up. All right, so problem number 1, it's asking you to find the slope. And slope is a pretty straightforward idea. Hopefully at this point you're kind of at least circling around the kind of right ideas, but you're comparing the change in y over the change in x. So you're not comparing y to x. You're not putting 6 over -4. You're putting the change from one to the other. So to get from 6 down to 1, I have to subtract 5. And then to get from 1 all the way down to -9, I have to subtract 10. And then on this side, if I do the same thing, -4 down up to -1 means I have to add 3. And then -1 up to 5 means I have to add 6. So this side is the change in y, and this side is the change in x. So you're basically taking these pairs and looking at them in a fraction. See what the slope is. So the slope equals this relationship. Okay, as far as for a graph, it's the same idea, right? They're asking for what is the rate, and that rate is the same thing as slope. So in a table, we're checking change in y over change in x by looking at the points. But in a graph, we're just looking at the picture. So I just need points. So I have a point here, I have another point there, and another point there. So if I'm kind of thinking about that idea of that triangle, right? I'm checking out the change in y over the change in x, which is really the rise over the run. So I'm literally just counting how much am I going up and how much am I going over, and what is that going to look like when I put it into this ratio. So up here is 3 over is 5. Up here is 3 over is 5. So hopefully if you're looking at this, then you're looking and seeing that it's going up. With these blocks. So you have to pay attention to units, right? So you're going from 10 all the way up to 25. So when we say 3 blocks, each block is actually worth 5. So it's really going up 15 here. So this is 15 centimeters. And then when I say I'm going over 5 blocks, then on these units, it's going from 0 up to 5. So that's by 1. So this is 5 years. So 15 centimeters every 5 years. So I'll let you figure out what that is as a rate, like a unit rate. So if it's 15 centimeters every 5 years. All right. Problem number 3. Which statement describes the rate of change? Again, the slope. So you're checking change in y over change in x. So this is really the same as this type of problem. It's just this table's on its side instead of going straight up and down. But I'm still checking how much is the x changing as I go through and how much is the y changing. And then can I put those two numbers into this ratio? And then you can even read these to see. This one says x divided by change in y. That's not right, right? So it's definitely not B. And it's not x divided by change in y here either. So that's definitely not it. So I'll let you look at those last two and see what you think. All right, number 4, again, rate of change. This time you're answering this question, but it's the same thing. You're not checking. So this is wrong, is to say it's 250 for 1 minute, because it's not 250 for 1 minute. If you look at what's happening here, so this is a no. Because if you look at what's happening, as you add a minute every time on this side, so you're adding 1 minute as you go down, 1 minute. How much money are you adding on this side? How much is it changing by? That's really what you're saying, right? The change in y over the change in x. So how much is the total cost changing divided by the minutes washing paint. So this is changing by 1 on the bottom here, right? It's changing by 1 minute every time we go through the table. But then on this side, we'll let you figure that part. Okay, y equals mx plus b. This is the general form for slope intercept, which means that this is going to be something that is a linear function because it's in slope intercept form. And you can see the slope and you can see the intercept. So this is not supposed to be hard. It's a really straightforward kind of problem that's supposed to just ask you what shape this graph would be. Hopefully this will help. All right, which one's not linear? Look for an unusual x. A plain old x is linear. So you're just choosing the x that does not seem to be just a normal x. So things like exponents, x on bottom, fraction, square root over x. So just anything that happens to x that makes it sort of an unusual situation. Okay, for 7, it's asking for a couple things, right? It's asking you for which one has a greater slope, which one has a greater y-intercept. So you can see the slope here by looking at the change in y over the change in x, right? So you can go down and check what's happening on each side to set up this relationship. Here you can look at it by comparing points. So if I'm looking through and I'm seeing that I have points in all these spots, I'm really looking at that staircase, right, to describe. So this is going down 3 and over 2. So again, change in y over change in x is really, in this case, kind of like the rise over the run. So that's for slope. If you're looking for y-intercept, you're really just looking at where it crosses. So for this one, this is the y-intercept, which is the 0.03, right? Because I'm going 0 this way, but up to 3. And so I just want to point out that the first number here is a 0 because it's on the y-axis. So on this side, you're looking for 0 something to tell you where this one crosses the y-axis. And then you can try to put that into words how you did that. Okay, number 8, again, plain old x is linear. So no exponents on x, no x in denominator, no square root symbol, etc. Hopefully that seems pretty straightforward. So there's 3 different ones here to talk about which way it is. And this is really, for my algebra kids, I noticed some of you using pretty good vocabulary to explain this, which is great. And then this is kind of geared more towards my 8th grade students right now, but still it works for both. All right, is this a function? So functions each input has only one output. So basically no repeated x's. You can't have x going in 2 different times with 2 different answers. So I'll let you look at those. And then this is supposed to be review. I mean, honestly, this is review of when you first started graphing. You're just looking through these points and deciding which set of points is on this line. So it's just making sure you understand the X and Y part of things. So, you know, X, the first number tells you where to go left to right, and then second number tells you where to go up and down. Okay. So you should head over to School City then and retake CFA number 4. I think it has Math 8 in front of it. Good luck. Let me know if you have questions.